The new construction community of Monterey by the builder Toll Brothers in lower southeastern Lakewood Ranch, Florida, suburb, northeast Sarasota, Florida General Metro, 2025. What's the deal? What is interesting here? To me, the reason I would highlight this individually, it's a two-sided thing. Let's take the left side to start. Some would say not ideal geography. You pull up the map of Lakewood Ranch, which this is technically a part of. All the communities they've ever built, and this is a large multi-generational master plan area here. Bunch of white space, Monterey down here. It's kind of like this kid can't play with these kids. Same time, you could also say, well, it doesn't really fit in the Sarasota box either. It's too east based on my access to the stuff I want to be. So you're the odd man out in both situations, right? Also, price point. This isn't coming at a discount. So this is going to be in the likes of the Isles in these similar communities. And you could say, well, that is great. I see how that benefits Toll Brothers. There's more land. Isles is like not brand new, so they're going to keep expanding. I see that's good for them. But what here sets this apart in a way that I would view that as a benefit, especially if I am clearly trying to overcome this hurdle of location? There's that. That's only one side of the argument. On the other side, you could say, the flexibility and the variety of these floor plans, in my opinion, are unusual, to say the least, in the best way. The remote feel. So a lot of things about this community when you view the town, especially if you're not familiar with Lorraine Road or the way Fruitville cascades out and the evolution of what this is going to be, it feels like it's a little bit in the boonies. That's the East Fruitville, East Sarasota is always that conversation. Start heading out to Mayaca. And, but what you could say is like all the benefits of being like that remote feel in the day and the age of where we're going in this commoditized new construction environment, it's really platted. You're 10 minutes one way from Waterside. So this, you on a map, it looks like you're way out here. You're 10 minutes one way from Waterside Place, which is not even an argument, the sexiest kid on the block at the moment, of what people would deem Monterey not being Waterside as a negative. And then lastly, just the nature-centric element, the sophistication that goes into the way that these floor plans accent, once you get there, it's kind of a different world, in the best way possible. So you have like the rear of the lots aesthetic, the way the amenities accent, all this kind of stuff, I would say is underestimated, to say the least. I think it's unmatched in the category of the deeper you get in your search when you're looking at apples options. It's hard to come by. There's hard to be a second and third option. And because of these two reasons and, amongst the many things you could choose, I think it's disregarded. And I do not think you should disregard it in 2025. So this video's purpose is to maybe put a community back on your interest list that you previously intentionally removed. And like always, we're going to pull up a map and I'm going to talk about location a little bit more because this one's a little bit tricky, but I'm going to try to simplify it very negatives to positives, I think, because I think that's where it sits. 2, I'm going to talk about homes in the second section, about floor plans. We're going to walk through what you could do here in January 2025, how Toll Brothers works, things like that. We're going to finish off with amenities and maybe what you can do next. So I hope you enjoy my take here in January 2025. My name is Adam Hancock. This is the Florida Relocation Guide YouTube channel, your smartest way to buy, sell, and or invest in the entire Southwest Florida Metro. If you do like it, make sure you sign up for my 30-day email list. I send one email all month. No spam, nothing like that. That is probably the best thing you can do on the back of this if you like these kind of videos. It's bite-sized information about the Southwest Florida market, new construction releases, stuff that's in a real-time loop that I can't do on an evergreen video that's going to exist 6 months from now. We also have some relocation guides on the website and just some other helpful things. So the sunshinestateko.com, check out the free guides or stuff like that as well. Without further ado, I really hope you enjoy today's video and let's hop in. All right, let's kick things off with the category of geography. And the best way that I personally know how to articulate this is, picture we're at the Starbucks in downtown Lakewood Ranch. We're sitting on a table like I've done many, many times. I have my computer. We have physical maps. I'm trying to explain to you what we're about to see, the context of what to kind of think about while we're doing it. So no route, no community we visit's in vain. I think that's the most helpful. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hop to my screen here. And we're going to start off with a quick reframe. What you're looking at, if you haven't seen this, is the latest and the greatest of Lakewood Ranch, Florida's community printed map. Really everything you need. You can, PDF. It's a really nice map. I'll zoom in a little bit here, but this is what I'm talking about. Oh, awesome Lakewood Ranchers communities. They started here. They went up here. Then they went over here. Yeah, Waterside, all this stuff going on. And whoa, what's this little guy down here? This is what I'm talking about. This is how evident it is. Look at the rest of Lakewood Ranch and Monterey. Well, you hop over to Google Maps and look at where Monterey sits. You're in the same kind of conversation of this is just east, 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 and east. But start to zoom in. So you move to this area, and I mean, and one more thing I'll throw on top of that. If you get here, what happens is, you come up, maybe you're staying in Art Ovation or the West in downtown Sarasota, for instance. You start to move over this way and you hop on Fruitville and you're trying to like get to this Monterey community. The heavy majority of people don't get that far. They get on Fruitville and they start going up, right? Everything was typically built from the interstate to Lakewood Ranch Boulevard, which runs right here. And that's what you're going to see right here. And, but they just basically turn up. They turn up on Lorraine Road, or they just don't get that far. You have the Founders Club here, which is like an old school state home community, a small golf boutique community, but it was the only thing there before Lakewood Ranch was built. You have lower waterside, and then you keep going and it just kind of drops off. You stop crossing the cross streets that are meaningful to Lakewood Ranch, even the new stuff. And that's the way it really, really feels. But when you start to say functionality of what am I actually working with here, the more you know. Number one, waterside place. Proper downtown, like not a random suburban one, 25-foot wide sidewalks, restaurants, huge lakes, lovely, lovely place. Feels that way, safe for kids, the whole deal. Number one farmers market in the state of Florida. It's based there. Look at where you sit. So 7.8 miles, depends who's driving. I said 10 minutes, but 7.8 miles. Number two, one of the newest cool things going on is Fruitville Commons, which has Cooper's Hawk, like the winery restaurant kind of thing. It's at the foot of Waterside. Big Top Brewing moved over there. See how far that is. It's another like commercial amenity right down the street, 7.6 miles. Throw downtown Lakewood Ranch in here. This isn't to count like every Publix on every shop. This is like main thoroughfares you hop into. Downtown Lakewood Ranch. Let's talk. There's a restaurant called The Grove. You have 9.9 miles. You get the point, right? But that's the jam in Lakewood Ranch. Is you look for like, where do I go? You have these centers, these places that you commune to, and they're all right there. Well, it gets more interesting than that. And I won't get crazy here because I did a video on Catalina, Del Webb Catalina a couple weeks ago, beach walk before that. I walked through the Sarasota map a lot. So in case you saw those, I don't want to make this too boring. This is where it gets really interesting, and why I keep harping on the Fruitville grid Sarasota thing so much is watch this. Like, look how east this thing looks. Watch this. Downtown Sarasota. This is important because not only the main downtown, it's not your work commute kind of downtown. It's awesome, very walkable. It's also 3.6 miles to the beach. You get there, you got everything. If you're moving to Sarasota, this would be the reason. 12.8 miles. Look at the straight shot. That's what's important. It's not how far east you are. It's just like water access. If you're not near the bridges, it doesn't matter how close you are to the water if you're not on it. Fruitville is the name of the game here. So, and then let me add one more element, and then I'll bring this all home, is look at this right here. So this is what's going to happen. I was explaining how Catalina fits in the grand scheme, right? Everything was built lower originally, all the downtown stuff, because that's where the only homes were. These are the first two communities that were built right here. But look, they're going to back their way in. So you're going to end up being over here, and you're going to end up having communities like this. It's not going to feel like that on the map anymore. Your map's not going to have this big thing. And then the other big element that's happening in town right now, you can look it up. I have videos on it too, but they're doing this Hi-Hat Ranch area of the east, and this development that the founder of Neal Communities is. He has a partnership. I think it's called Sioux Partners. It's like a joint venture company, I think. But it's a development company, and they're doing a thing called 3H Ranch. So all that to say, they're going to build a full-on city right here. I mean, where basically nothing is right now. Like, they're going to build, 14 villages, 2, 4, 5,000 homes. Community centers going to come with that. To say that, if you look at what Waterside and Welland Park are, if you're deep in the new construction thing, look at how many communities, 9, 12, 14. They have a downtown. Look how many homes. Look at Welland Park. Look up the plans for 3.8 Ranch and tell me that's not going to be basically like a Waterside here. So where you're going to sit is you're going to be in an area right now that gives you stuff because of the boony nature to it. That, like I said at the beginning, is a lost art. Where new construction's going in smaller, narrow, turnkey, spec, inventory, don't even design it yourself, nature. Good for the builder, controlled margin, takes out the volatility. But for the buyer, you lose individual custom options. You lose, especially if you're not doing a full-on custom home. The highest build you could do that's not fully custom, Toll Brothers, Homes by Town, things like Medallion maybe, that's not where new construction's going. New construction's going smaller, turnkey, better for the builder, but like just people are coming just buying them the way they are. So to get this location to have the remote feel to have the community built with that in mind. And then in 5 years to have everything that people value about the town right now, but deem as negative with Monterey, that's your value. It's money's made when you guess earlier than other people. If you're wrong, how much of a risk is this location to the state of Florida? I don't know. If you're right, though, is there a comparable value? That's what I think is interesting about geography for this particular video. And let's talk more about homes. Okay, now that we've covered the where, let's talk about the what. And there's a few things I want to get through in this section that I think would be most helpful. First, again, is the idea of toll brothers. Not every builder matters so much that they can't really be swayed as a higher weighted factor than geography. Geography will put a lot of people being like, there's 3 builders, and they'll pick based on where it's based. Toll brothers is going to be more important in that conversation because you have the Neals and the Taylor Morrisons. You have a lot of builders that are not exactly the same as each other, but I would say people compare, juxtapose pretty evenly. Then you have over here, you have Arthur Ruttenberg, Lee Wetherington, John Cannon. These are your custom guys package them all a little different, but you can kind of call your shots. You design really almost everything to a point. You're almost picking a lot and then going from there. And then you have builders like this, like Toll Brothers, a little bit of Homes by West Bay lately, Homes by Town, that is almost as elegant as you can get and sophisticated as you can get. Maybe a nicer level of appliances, more options than the average Joe, but it's still in a box. It's still, you're gonna be picking a bunch of things and making a home just like most builders, but in a way that's an in-betweener. And that's the way it's gonna feel when you get in here, you walk the models, it's a different ballgame. That's number one. Number two is, one of the things I've always thought was interesting with, we don't talk about a ton, with Toll is the way they do their lots. A lot of communities are gonna come, I'm gonna show you here a real quick example. But you can see like the amenities and stuff. Look at these. They go real ham on their models. Is a lot of these communities you go to, you pick, okay, 52-foot lot, 62-foot lot, whatever. It's pretty regimented about each lot one to the next. Well, Toll, you go in here, you look like, okay, so this one's 80, same collection, right? 83 feet, 75. Look at the depths of them, 150. Depths are more defined, but you have a 76, you have an 81. So this is all about this was the same way when I lived in the Isles. This is all about angles. So you can really, 81, 90, 95 on a normal community that's not doing full custom, like an 81 to 90 by 150 might be small compared to where you're moving from, but it's not small in the new construction conversation. A lot of these lots are 52 by 130, 45 by 130. This is a big lot for a somewhat normal neighborhood. Okay, there's that. Food for thought there. And literally every lot, when you go to look at like value and home premium, and you're like, okay, this home can go on all these lots, I look at the angles. The angles matter a lot about where it hits the cul-de-sac, where it hits, like evens out. You could get this big backyard. What's important to you, elevation wise. Okay, there's that. Then like most, you have home collections. They're going to package all their homes in collections, and there's 2 here. One's going to go 2,500 to 3,500 square feet. The other one's 32 to 5,000. Again, that's not every community as we progress here in 2025 is going into that 4,500 to 5,000 on multiple floor plans. So if you're looking for that space just to get, more space, bigger lot, or you have family, whatever it may be, it's getting more unusual. So if we hop in the first collection, just give you a little bit better idea here. We won't get super crazy. Let's get past the quick move-ins. So here we have 5 floor plans. And one of the things, I'm not going to walk through everything that's on the website, obviously. But one thing that Toll does is, you see these elites, you have the Rossi and then the Rossi Elite. They'll basically take an entire, and if you had the same front elevation, it's identical home, they'll take a home and they'll like plop an upstairs on it. So there's some cool things you can do there if you're looking for like game rooms, lofts, things like that. If you love the single family and you needed more space, you don't have to go to a new floor plan. There's also multiple ways you can do a 3-car garage in here. I have the one that you kind of drive through the garage or through the driveway, and then I have the pocket single separate than the 2, and I really like it because I have like a garage, gym, sauna, cold tank kind of situation, and it is nice that it's separate, and it goes on a separate part of the house too. So I have an indoor version of a room too that's like a double master where you can use as like either an indoor gym, like a treadmill and that kind of thing, but you also have a dedicated bathroom and stuff like that. So there's little like subtleties like that not everyone has. But you're going to see here, I'm going to talk about the price structure, but you're going to see 720 to 854. This is a community that you're very much going to have an idea of what you get overall by getting in there. But when you go to the sales centers at Toll randomly by yourself, it feels, for whatever reason, way more confusing than this. It's really kind of positioned almost like a custom home, more or less, that you could add things to. But if you step back and say this isn't all that different than what they've always done, then I think that's a good way to go. We'll hit the sheer water collection real quick to show you. These are the bigger homes. Again, people are going away from these big homes, but look at these things. I mean, look at these things. I mean, you go in the Lake Club, you looked at like the Genoa series by Stock, you go in Wild Blue, not all that different. You can also do really, I mean, look at the garages, the front doors. These are like custom home kind of things. You know, these are like, people put in front doors that look like that for $15,000. So just a touch of class and elegance that the builder is going to choose on your behalf, so you're not burdened with picking every little thing. And 99% of the cases, in my experience, the custom home is cool, but most people don't need it. So phase one is going to be about 113 homes, including the models. They've already sold 54 of those. The sales are actually going pretty decent. They're selling more of the to-be-built, which I figured here. Overall, I think people are buying quick move-ins like way more lately. I mean, logistics and these kind of things, but also they just want to get down here. But this one is to-be-built, and now the benefit is in 2025, they're estimating 10 to 14 months on average build time, which makes it way more real. You know, Esplanade Nazario towards the end there was building like, towards the end of like the COVID era, was building 18, 19-month homes of like the Lazio and the Palazzo. At a certain point, like what you got excited about 2 years removed, tricky. It's tricky to guess value if it's that separated from the actual logistics and the financing and all that kind of thing. What they're doing here on a to-be-built home, which is like you go in, select the options kind of thing, they're doing a pretty normal, but they do their deposit structure a little bit different. So what you're going to do is you're going to come in here. I got the shearwater pulled up. You're going to come in here and you're going to pick, let's say you go ham, you pick the Dexter, 4,900 square foot base. It's $1.2 million base price. There's your base. That has to be applied to one of the lots that fits this kind of home. So let's say you add like 20, 30, 40, 50K, whatever the lot is that you're buying on top of the 1.2. The third element that makes where you could go to contract is structural options. This is stuff that physically like affects the permit. It's added rooms that weren't there. It's expanding patios. It's you're going to do a pool. We don't know what you're going to do exactly yet, but you're going to do pools, things like that. It has to affect the permit. It's not aesthetics. Those are your three. 5% of the base. So you got to, this is all combined, but you go to contract. Once they have that price, you're going to pay 5% of the deposit on the base price. So 5% of the 1,228. You're going to pay 20% on the lot premium, which not negligible, but you know, based on the lots aren't $500,000 usually. And then an additional 20% on just the structural options that you upgraded. The 1.2 obviously includes 90% of it. You're going to add stuff to it. That's how you go to contract. 20, 30, 45 days later, you're going to go to the design studio. That's where you could change what your countertops look like, every cabinet, every grout line. You could do engineer hardwood instead of 18 by 18 tile, whatever it may be. That, and you pay 20% of that design as a separate check that you write that's not part of the contract technically. It's appended to the contract. So there's that. Lastly here, I don't walk through this stuff enough, so I just want to give you kind of all the granular detail if you're going to go this far in the video. Incentives right now, they're offering, I'm sitting in January, late January 2025, $15,000. None of this is set in stone. $15,000 closing costs if you use their mortgage, right? So they're getting their money back somewhere, but for you, could be a benefit if all is equal. $50,000, this is where it gets really interesting. $50,000 off the first $80,000 that you spend at the design center. So 50K or 50% off the first 80,000, so 40,000. That could pay for like big chunks of stuff. I mean, 40 grand would pay for most floors on a pretty decent sized house. It would definitely pay for like all, if you went from like granite to quartz, including backsplashes and in a pretty large size kitchen, you should be good there. Upgraded cabinets. It lets you really like envision like huge chunks of stuff. So that's interesting. If you do a quick move in home, then if it's not already heavily discounted, they're taking like that off the package price. I think that's probably all that's relevant at this time. So you have, 10 floor plans. You can do anywhere from like mid 2000s to 5,000 plus square feet. Here, you're going to very realistically be, I would say that the majority of people, you take a base price. So even if you started in the 700s, add a lot premium to it, maybe like a little over 8 on a lot premium on like the 2,500 square foot house. Most people will add 20 to 25%, give or take the pool, to those two. So if you took that and added the 1.20, 1.25, that's a good estimate of like where you'll actually be like buying the home, with shades of gray, of course. So food for thought there. It's never really 700. It's never really 800. You know, got to add to that. But overall, I do think this will have a long-term value. I mean, they're going to build 6-7 million. I mean, I just talked to a rep that's really connected to the Wild Blue community, and they're doing custom homes that they're speccing out custom. And there's people that go into contract at the $8 million at Wild Blue, which is just across the range, you know, right down the street from this kind of community. So anyway, I think it has a lot of value there. So I hope that was helpful. Let me hit amenities super fast, and then we'll talk about what to do next. All right, in the third and final section for this video, we're going to talk amenities. And I feel very similar about the amenities in Monterey as I did when I was inside. I was in the first phase of the Isles, that they're nice and normal. You know, that's why I emphasize the builder, and the home types and the floor plans, the uniqueness of the lots, and understanding the location more, because this isn't amenities first, it's amenities also, if that makes sense. Clubhouse, fitness center, pool, normal amenity like center area. In the Isles, they did turf everywhere. It was nice, it was pleasant, very tropical looking around the pool. Common space, there's a dog park, event lawn. This community is gated. Not every community is gated, especially in the waterside area. Park, pickleball courts, so that's kind of an MVP and a minimum viable kind of amenity these days. Ponds, the Isles had a kind of a fishing pond, but it really, like, the pond thing more than anything, if they can do them like big enough, and depending on this one looks very similar to me, is it gives like interesting rear exposure that I feel like it's the Isles is very nature centric. They have this boardwalk that I used to take my kids when they were a little younger through, and it almost felt like you were in like this Folly Beach, South Carolina kind of thing. Like the way they did the lakes and the, you know, whatever. So I think it's interesting. It does feel very peaceful, and in this location, it's nice. Tennis courts, walking trail. So not gonna have a restaurant, not gonna have a bar at the pool, all that kind of stuff. But you're going to have what would be appropriate for the HOA as it accents these homes. And that's what I'd say about that. I'm going to finish up with a lot more detail about what you can do from here. But if this community individually is interesting to you, I forgot to mention too, they're taking offers on the quick move-in homes. It's not anything goes, but I really think you can ask questions. So reach out to me if I can assist in any way with this particular community. I know a lot about Toll, weirdly about Toll, but if this community, if you're like, I like this idea in a different location. If you're like, what's the next one besides this? If there's another community you'd like me to cover in depth with this kind of thing, if there's anything else you'd like me to include in these kind of videos in 2025, please consider reaching out. In my outro, I will tell you some more detail, and thank you guys so much. All right, folks, that is a wrap for today's edition of the Florida Relocation Guide, your smartest way to buy, sell, and/or invest across the entire Southwest Florida region. My name is Adam Hancock. Once again, I was your host. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's the best way to see what's coming next. I think we have about 79-ish total Sundays and Wednesdays for the rest of the year. And we're going to try to do a lot of value. I'm going to pack within that on an average of 1 to 2 videos a week. So that's the best way to see what's coming next. So Sarasota, Tampa, Naples, mostly Sarasota, but new construction, the economics of the Florida real estate market, anything I think would be helpful to someone possibly looking to relocate from out of state or out of the area to our wonderful metro here. Subscribing is simply just the best way to see when we release and how we release. Beyond that, make sure you sign up for that 30-day email if you're not already a part of it. The last day of every single month, we send out this bite-sized, I just handwrite it, manifesto of everything I did over the month, everything I'm thinking about, ruminating on, new release things that I found out about early, stuff like that. We also have relocation guides under a free guides tab on my website, thessunshineStateCo.com. I'm revamping, I don't know the timing of this video, probably it'll be out here shortly, a Sarasota, Florida relocation guide. It's going to be kind of a hitters list of my favorites. So it's going to be an updated list of just basically all my favorites, communities, restaurants, like real insider stuff that I think is relevant today. So I'm revamping that. You can check back and I'll try to mention it. And lastly, if you are interested in buying, selling, or investing in the Florida real estate market, I own a brokerage called thessunshineStateCo.com, or the Sunshine State Co, I guess. not the website itself, but anyway. And lastly, if I can assist you in any way within the Southwest Florida real estate market, buying, selling, investing, relocating, we're not specific to new construction or YouTube or anything like that. It's a full-scale residential brokerage. I would love to. It doesn't matter if you're ready now or 10 years from now. We have a lot of really great examples from the people that came before you that I think is a real asset to the next people. We find out about stuff early. We do a density of new construction that's very unusual. So we just have a lot of leverage and advantages when it comes to incentives and timing and releases and that kind of stuff. So please consider reaching out. My phone number is here. Email address is here. We would love to assist you if we can and if it's a great fit. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. We'll see you on the next one.